You have to excuse us. We were over here playing around with all this great new stuff, Jam and Bean Scent, which I'll show you in a little bit. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Sweet vindication, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing like a show when you can go sweet vindication. Honestly, oh, and by the way, we'll have Liz Harrington, the spokesperson for the Trump campaign, to come on and talk about the latest with the indictments, the debates, and also, just a host of other stuff. In this first segment, though, we want to talk about sweet vindication, and we want to talk about latest polls as well. So I'm going to try to cram all that in together. But look, the indictment strategy that we were talking about, part of which leaked the New York Times got a handle on it. And from the DeSantis campaign, then the PAC that has essentially taken over for the DeSantis campaign never backed down. And I told you the campaign itself is out of money. I mean, basically, they're having a very difficult time. That's why they're talking about Trump going bankrupt, paying his legal bills, because they're broke and they're trying to do something nobody has ever seen before, which is run a campaign through a super PAC. Look, Rich, isn't there a law against illegal coordination? There is, and I think that the FEC this could be a problem. We're not talking about this now. The media doesn't seem to really care. Someone like Laura Loomer, of course, grabs the FEC letter and puts it up, but it shows rank incompetence with a ton of money, overspending, misusing, misappropriations, a grift. That's what the FEC's letter is all about, is just a grift. And because they weren't able to go back to big donors who have maxed out, many of whom actually even gave so much they gave enough for the general election already, cannot be spent in the primary. They have no small dollar donations to keep the campaign afloat like Trump does. And by the way, even Tim Scott has more small dollar donations than Ron DeSantis. He's a total, and I should bring on Caroline Ratton, because this is her world and she understands it. So she'd be a great guest to try to explain to you what I know, which is, like, the media keeps reporting. Yesterday, there was one where actually he did hold on to his mega donors. A $25,000 donor is not a mega donor. Someone who's donating, I'm not talking about one drop. I'm talking about, the last 4 cycles, so-and-so gave $25,000 to Republican candidates. That's nothing for some of these people. They give super PACs. They cut them hundreds of thousands of dollar checks, millions of dollars. That is not a mega donor. So his real situation is dire when it comes to money, which is why it wasn't a retool or a rechange of strategy. They are broke. That's why they laid off everyone. That's why they went from big venues to small venues. They don't have the money to do it. And there are limits for what a super PAC is allowed to do with inviting people to events. And that's how they're getting around or trying to skirt FEC rules and laws. And I'm not just regulations, but laws. They're trying to say that Never Back Down is putting on these events, and they're just inviting Governor DeSantis to come and speak at them. Well, there are limits to how much you can do that. So in any event, that's the document dump that it came from Never Back Down that went to the New York Times yesterday. What did it say? It said they laid out a ton of strategy. First of all, it was strategy for the debate, and then after, what's called the spin, all right, and then campaign strategy moving forward. And it was a bunch of data. The data was extremely favorable to Ron DeSantis compared to the consensus of public polling, which we're going to show you in a little bit. But it still was a disaster for Ron DeSantis. Also, number one, it told you exactly what I've been telling you all along, which is that they are publicly pretending like they're condemning these indictments. Privately, they are cheering them on. They want him to be imprisoned. He wants that. That's the way. That is part of the campaign strategy. Two, this surge with Vivek Ramaswamy. Right? I'm not talking about what kind of a person is he. A plan? Is he for the real deal? I don't know. I'll invite him on the show and I'll prod the hell out of him for you. I will. I haven't gotten a chance to do it yet, but I'll hit him up. I'll get him on. Yeah, Laura's already on, so she's on it. He did a great job on Tucker. Whether he's real or not, he's articulate as hell. He didn't make an enemy out of the majority of the Republican primary, or not even just a majority of the Republican Party, let alone the primary vote. And he is talking about things that people really care about. Now, some Trumpers would be like, wait a second. He said he pardoned both Hunter and Trump because, that's equal. No, it's not. Hunter is a crook. Donald Trump is being persecuted. There's a big difference. All right. In any event, and look, if the cases against Donald Trump were being made against Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, you would hear me say the same exact thing. If the cases against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were being made against Donald Trump, you'd hear me saying the same exact thing. I would be saying Trump took a bribe and he is crooked. He's corrupt. But that's not what's going on here. Let's not make or draw a false, let alone moral, but legal equivalence. That is not what's happening here. And in any event, it's not my job to tell you whether or not I like the guy, Vivek. He's doing right things. My job to tell you what is a smart campaign strategy, what could work, what won't work, what voters will like, what won't they like. And I've been telling you, he's a dark horse. He is sitting there waiting for DeSantis to collapse, doing what a smart person would do. Now, he's not going to win, but he can raise his national profile and position himself to either be a vice presidential pick, a member of a cabinet, maybe even MAGA's heir apparent in 28. He's smart. He's running it like that. Is he legit? Is not the question. The question is he doing what is necessary? What is the right and smart thing to do to get there? He went on Tucker. He knocked it out of the park. The data dump shows that despite what the public pollster and, the data that leaked is from the guy, and I don't even want to draw attention to him, but the pollster for DeSantis's internal Never Back Down, and really because he doesn't have the money to run polls like that anymore. It's for Never Back Down. They obviously are showing the campaign and the PAC things that are different from what they are saying publicly. So he has spent a month, almost 2 months, maybe. I don't know, because I just saw it about a month ago and started to write about it on Locals this week. He's pushing Unskew the Polls 2.0 nonsense. And this pollster's trash. And this pollster's low cost. And this pollster's garbage. When he's one of only a handful who is way out of the mainstream, way out of the consensus. And it's not because of methodological issues. He's arguing about margins, this and that. Well, what we found from the data dump is that the polls aren't trash. Vivek Ramaswamy's surge is real nationally and in early states like New Hampshire. That's why they have been attacking him like crazy. That's why the debate strategy is to call him fake Vivek the fake, and so-called defend Donald Trump against the likes of Chris Christie and others. Before I get into the poll, I just want to run a video to tell you what's going to happen to Ron DeSantis when he does that. Because, listen, Chris Christie is going nowhere. He can have some strength in New Hampshire. He will not be the Republican nominee. But he's a great debater. Ron DeSantis is not. So when he goes to attack Vivek and defend Trump, all at the same time, this is going to happen to him.
You have not been involved in a consequential decision where you had to be held accountable. You just simply haven't. I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him. See, See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're president of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person.
This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly
there it is,
what he's
the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign.
You know what the shame is? You know what the shame is, Marco? The shame is that you would actually criticize somebody for showing up to work, plowing the streets, getting the trains run back on time, when you've never been responsible for that in your entire life.
He bodied Marco Rubio in that debate. It was over. Marco Rubio did better than expected in Iowa, which I've been telling you, Tim. I told you when we conducted this poll in Iowa, a month and a half ago or so, I said, I see something. And I see something that I saw in 2016. Tim Scott's the new Marco Rubio. I told you guys that. Iowa City, Sioux City, right? This is the way Tim Scott's support is building up around these like more educated and certainly college towns, certainly more moderate and liberal Republicans, which will be the minority. It'll be like 20% of the electorate, but they're there. And Marco Rubio ended up doing better than expectations. So he thought it might catapult him as a more moderate guy than Ted Cruz into New Hampshire. And maybe he could take second in New Hampshire. Chris Christie spent it all in New Hampshire like he's doing now. And he effectively ended Marco Rubio's momentum, and that's it. We're going to find out a lot about Chris Christie in this debate. We're going to find out because Chris Christie did that knowing it would help Donald Trump. It could anyway. It may help him, but it may not help him as much as it'll help Donald Trump. It'll take Marco Rubio off Donald Trump's heels. If he gets any momentum against Donald Trump, he's going to blunt it. That's going to be it. And Trump could win with like a third of the vote. That's what happened. This time, I wonder whether or not Chris Christie is for real or not. We all know he is a fake dude. We all know he's an opportunist. We all know he's a raw power kind of guy. That's who he is. However, does he hate Donald Trump more than he wants to win? Because we already know what to expect out of him. There is so much ammunition against Ron DeSantis if Chris Christie doesn't use it when he's attacking Vivek. And Ron DeSantis is going to defend Trump against Chris Christie's attacks, then we'll really know where Chris Christie stands. All right, we'll know what his campaign is all about for sure, even though I got a pretty good idea right now. Part of what leaked in that strategy too, or well, they really kind of like leaked it anyway, and I think Cernovich is probably right, that leak, it goes back to something I said a year ago almost when I told you Ron DeSantis was going to run. I told you McCarthy's donors were pushing him to run. And by the way, all of McCarthy's donors are in fact backing Ron DeSantis and have given Ron money, even though they're pulling back now. Some of them have gone to Tim Scott. Some of them have gone to Nikki Haley. This is what I said, that they don't really want Ron to win. Many of them probably don't think that Ron can win. What they want to do is fracture the MAGA base. What they want to do is fracture the conservative base. This way, whomever is the nominee is hurt badly going to the general election, and you don't get anybody who's MAGA. Well, as it turns out, Ron DeSantis is not MAGA. Ron DeSantis has reverted back into the person that he was in the House of Representatives. That is an objective statement. It's not an opinion. And that's why it's being reflected in the polls. Well, they pushed him so far to the right in Iowa that he hurt himself. In states like New Hampshire and in South Carolina, he will have hurt himself. He's currently getting trounced in his own state. So, just yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, I'm losing track. We're going to look it up anyway in a second. Emerson College comes out with their new poll in New Hampshire. Once upon a time, Trump was at like, I don't remember. He's been around this 40-point lead in New Hampshire and Emerson for a long time. And you can see here, Chris Christie's actually in second with 9%. Ron DeSantis is in third with 8%. Tim Scott is in sixth. Strangely, Vivek is in third, which is something that goes against Ron DeSantis' own internal polling and some other polls. But you know what, folks, when you're getting down to single digits like that, this is why I said there's only one dominant top tier candidate in this race. Everyone else is essentially a sampling error. Let me put this as clear as I can. There is one top tier candidate in this race. Everyone else is a sampling error. I mean, everyone else could be. I mean, Christie could be at 13, and he could be at 5. DeSantis could be at 8. He could be at 12. He could be at 4 or 3. They're sampling errors. A new one from Trafalgar just came out today, which almost mimics it. Only I know why Trafalgar got Vivek Ramaswamy higher. Trafalgar is reaching certain people. We have similar philosophies, and he's definitely reaching less traditional Republican primary voters, probably got more new entrance voters than Emerson. I'm just being honest, even though Emerson has changed their methodology quite a bit. Emerson still to this day, I mean, they use a lot of IVR and stuff like that. So you're going to get a lot of older 4 out of 4 primary voters. You need the panel, which he uses, and even SMS and other cell phone, some kind of cell phone component. And he did that. But I just know Robert's philosophy, and I bet if we pulled New Hampshire, we'd have Vivek probably closer to where Robert has him. They have Ron DeSantis here in second, but it's so close. We're talking about 0.3 of a percentage point. Even Christie, who is technically in 4th, is only 1.3% behind third place and 1.7% or 1.6% behind second place. Again, that's a sampling error. Tim Scott's right there, 7.8. Primary polling is like this. At the end of the day, Vivek easily or Christie easily can end up in second place. It's also entirely possible that Trump is at 55. Or, maybe he wins, there's almost no undecided in the Trafalgar poll. In the Emerson College poll, there's 13% undecided. So you have Perry Johnson, by the way, at 2% here, and Perry Johnson is nowhere on the Trafalgar poll. I don't know if he just didn't score. They didn't put him in. Oh, no, there he is. 2%. Same thing. All right, so this is the way polling works. It's not exact, of course, so you have to look at the totality of it, and you have to keep in mind that sampling errors for subgroups are higher. I'm going to beat this like a dead horse all the way until the elections. I'll beat it like a dead horse until the general election. It is also the last possibility, like I said, which is some that other polls have concluded, is that they collapse. Second, third, fourth, fifth tier candidates collapse. And again, not tier, place. Sorry. There was only one top tier candidate. There are no real second tier and third tier candidates. The Fox News power rankings are a joke. This isn't 2016 where they're separated by 10 points. Trump's at 33, Ted Cruz at 24, John Kasich at 19, 20. That's not what's happening here. Trump is blowing everybody away. Blowing them away. And New Hampshire has, of course, minimum thresholds at 10%. Because sampling errors for subgroups are higher, and because there is a margin of error, of course, a sampling error for the overall poll, many of these candidates may not, I would say not even may not, are likely not to even qualify for delegates. Other New Hampshire polls out there have Trump running away with it so much that nobody else does qualify. I tend to be a little bit more conservative, and I say, you know what, if someone's at 9, they're probably going to get an undecided here and there, and they'll probably get there. But folks, a dominant win like this, or a dominant win like this, is damn near winner take all. Even though New Hampshire is proportional, it's damn near winner take all. And even though they released as favorable as a result as they could for they're trying to push, and you noticed a lot of his social media influencers said that Trump's internal polling has him slipping into the 30s the other day, right? Well, no, DeSantis's internal polling has him slipping into the 30s. I'll flatly ask Liz when she comes on in a second whether or not their own internal polling has them in 30. She can tell me to stick it up my butt. She doesn't want to answer. That's fine. I don't care, Liz. That would be perfectly okay with me. You can tell me where to shove it when you don't want to answer the question, but I'm going to ask. Remind me. Somebody remind me. Madam Producer, remind me. But the fact of the matter is the public polling does not match what their leaks show, even though you always expect certain pollsters for internal polls, especially internal establishment pollsters, to give their candidates BS results, to give their candidates more favorable results. In Iowa, which is DeSantis' strongest state, they still have him getting creamed. And the one hope they are showing for DeSantis is that he does better head-to-head against Donald Trump than media polls are showing. The head-to-head media polls show he crushes DeSantis in Iowa. The problem, even that the internal docs are showing, is that even if you think you have Trump around 40, not 50, even if, he's in Iowa, for instance, which, by the way, I think Trafalgar released Iowa a little bit ago, and they have Trump at like 42, but DeSantis in the teens. It's much harder to keep Trump from hitting 50 and above than it is for you to gather everyone else. The Fox News poll showed us that. In Iowa and in South Carolina, there are too many second-choice Trumpers to stop him from hitting 50. And in other polls, Trump is at like 60. We're beyond the attempt by Mitt Romney, who, by the way, is a joke. You're at 30%, according to the poll released yesterday. So he's over here criticizing a guy who's at like 55 and 60, and Victory Polling just put out a national with Trump at like 60.4 or something. And DeSantis at like 12 or 14. You're over here criticizing a guy who's taking nearly a majority, at least a solid majority, could be a super majority by the time we're done here. You're criticizing a guy like that. You can't even get a third in your own damn primary. You need a crowded field to win because you can't even get a third of the vote. You're a sitting U.S. multiple term Senate. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. Cool. So let me just make sure. I guess she was listening, so she heard that. So in any event, there it is. So a victory lap, because we're coming up on the end of the segment already, man. Victory lap like crazy on this because, I mean, look, folks, I'm not sure at the end, at this point, I don't know. I'm starting to question whether or not the consultants, not the donors, really thought they never had a chance. Like, so look at how much money they're all going to walk away with. I mean, Rowan Company is going to be like $30+ million richer. Did they really, A, ever think they could win? B, did they just totally play this guy? Like, did they not ever think he could win? Plus, they're trying to break MAGA. They're trying to, not just because, of course, they're trying to break MAGA, but are they trying to get Joe Biden like reelected? Let's be honest. Well, Laura, let's be honest. The Soros connections, for as much as you hear Soros DA, the Soros connections every day are getting deeper and deeper. It was George Soros who said, my ideal is that Ron DeSantis runs for president because I can see a scenario either way where both candidates, no matter who is the nominee, loses because of the fight between the base. I mean, this is what they did. Republicans are so stupid. They're so incredibly stupid. Stuck up. And that side of them are not the voters. I'm talking about the leadership. And unfortunately, a lot of the influencers are super dumb. They think that they're smarter than they are. And they're not. They're not at all. They're not smart at all, actually. It's pretty obvious at this point. Okay. So there it is. Let's see let me just see if I can get you that Iowa poll. I believe I did. Yeah, here it is. Let me pull it up. So here, I'll pull it up for you because I didn't put the thing. It came out after we were done making all the stuff for it. By the way, the Public Polling Project got a little blip yesterday. Keep it going. We are going to do the national survey this weekend. All right. I don't know how, when it will be done. I don't want to promise you that. Because no book club locals, no book club this Sunday. This Sunday is my anniversary. It's Laura and I's anniversary.
That's right. So you better recognize people. Just joking.
How many years has it been, love? How many years has it been? Let's see.
I don't know. 50?
I'm talking about in total. No, seriously, because marriage-wise, totally different. Because we have been together longer than that.
You're talking like 25 years, Richard.
Yeah, but it's more than that if you couple everything together. But it's really been like 20 years since I got out of the military, which immediately, we should tell people that story one day.
That'd be funny.
You want to talk about the universe just working, like it just working on your behalf. You know what a God wink is, people? Have you ever heard of a God wink? You know what God wink is? It's like when God is winking at you to like tell you what to do. This was
No, this isn't a God wink.
A God wink.
God smacked you
like
upside your head.
Smack. I traveled 3,000 miles. No, I mean, seriously, it wasn't 3,000, but it was a lot, and ended up in the same diner. It was incredible. It's just incredible. And no less, later after, like, you'll have Thanksgiving, on a Thanksgiving later after festivities. Just incredible odds. And I totally intended to track her down anyway. I mean, I was going around. I did. But it was, I had people spying on her and everything. I was like, not like weird like that. I'm like, I need you to find someone for me. But it didn't.
Not weird. I just need you to find someone.
At the end of the, but I didn't need them because we got the Godsmack, and I'm sitting at the table with the person who was a friend. And I'm like, buddy, I need you to do me a favor. And he knows Laura. I'm like, I need you to find Laura. I need you to track down Laura for me. So when I come home, I can basically make my pitch. And I see like where these like big paneled windows in the diner. And I just got a glance of her, not her face. I got a glance of her actually from behind. I knew it was her. Immediately, I'm like, no. What are the odds? I've actually tried to calculate them before. They're incalculable. It's not even conceivable how something like this could happen. I was gone for so long. She could have been anywhere. It just was remarkable. Anyway, no book club.
We digress.
We digress. 18-year anniversary. So there we have it. All right. Let me show the Iowa poll. All right. There we go. Iowa. And here, I'll put it up actually so we can see it. If I click on that link, it's going to take me to the other tab, isn't it? All right. So Trump is at 42.1. All right. DeSantis is at 16.1, 12.9 for Tim Scott. And I told you, I totally believe this result. Or at least I believe the order of operations. We have Trump higher, and I'm not going to say why we have Trump higher in Iowa. It's possible he fell a little bit in Iowa since we did that poll. It's possible. It's just that I don't know because Trafalgar didn't release everything that I would need to be able to look at it. But I'll tell you this, all the other Iowa polling that did release that I've been able to look at, they are doing what Ann Seltzer did and screwed up in 2016. Things that benefited Cruz that people didn't see happening. All right. Trump was actually ahead by a little in most of the Iowa caucus polls, like one. I think he was ahead by 4 in Ann Seltzer's final poll. And then Cruz wound up winning by a few points. Right. And I'm telling you, I know why that is. It's what they did to project the electorate, their vote preferences among people like evangelicals and non-evangelicals. All that was right. They just were wrong about who was going to show up and then how many new people were going to show up. Which, by the way, evangelicals were more than expected, which gave Cruz more support. But Trump was still so close because he brought in so many new people. Okay. And that's, even the great Ann Seltzer screwed that up. So I strongly suggest, and I'll call Robert after the show and I'll ask him, but I'm willing to bet the farm, folks, that this has to do with what is the percentage of new voters and what is the percentage of evangelicals. It's also extremely, extremely old. And we actually think that it's going to be super young, but I actually think that there will be more younger working age people who vote in the Republican primary, and they're going to vote for Donald Trump. All right. Speaking of which, let's kill this. Bring on our guest. All right. So peace out, Laura. Peace out. All right. So, look, I got a list of things. You can throw something in there if you want, but what a great time to have on the spokesperson, Liz Harrington from the Trump campaign. Liz, thanks always for joining us. After yesterday, I'm so glad you came on. This is a perfect time. Liz, first and foremost, as always, thanks for coming on. I just want to get your overall opinion of Georgia before we get into any specifics. I haven't talked since this, what is this, number 4 or 4th prosecutor or something? So we haven't spoken since I think number 2. What's your take on this indictment in Georgia? I'll be honest with you. I was talking to Robert Barnes and he was like, this is like going to be, that was inches away from him. This is insane. They indicted lawyers for doing their job. This is, I'll shut up. I'll let you take it. What do you think about this?
No, it's totally insane. It's totally un-American. I mean, they're going after not just President Trump's constitutional rights, but a whole host of other individuals as well. I mean, literally, they're saying it's a criminal act to encourage people to watch the news, to watch a public hearing, to, as the president of the United States, to give a speech. I mean, this is beyond Banana Republic. I don't even know what this is. I mean, I think the Soviet Union could come up with better fake crimes than this. I mean, this isn't even trying. They don't even pretend to care. That's what I mean. It's stunning to see this happening and then go through the motions and pretend like this is in any way a legitimate process. They've released the charges and the indictment before the grand jury had met, before they heard witnesses, before they voted. And so that tells you everything you need to know. But what's so really scary about this, I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so serious.
Serious.
Like they're literally trying to, put all of these people in jail. I mean, some of these people, I mean, they're in their 70s. They've lived lives of dignity. They've done nothing. All they were trying to do was get answers, and they got no help from the officials in Georgia. And then how do they get rewarded? They want to threaten them to throw them in jail and humiliate them and ruin their lives. It's sick what's happening. And that's the point. I mean, President Trump always says, they're not after me, they're after you. This is further proof of that. He's standing in the way. And this could happen to anybody. I mean, if they can do that,
it will. Yeah.
It will. And it absolutely will. And so that's what's really terrifying about this. But of course, we know President Trump didn't do anything wrong. They're going to fight this tooth and nail. But I mean, what has happened to our country that they could even bring this with a straight face? It's sickening.
I don't want to take up time with a whole bunch of clips, but I want to play something, and you probably have seen it. It's just for the audience, but I want to play something because I wholeheartedly believe this. Talking to Mike Davis about it, there's zero chance in my mind because of that. That leak was so absurd. I work a lot of federal cases we do voir dire research. We do profiling jurors. I have never seen an indictment come out before the jury has even finished hearing evidence or grand jury deciding to vote on an indictment or not. This explains it though, Liz. Let me play this. I'm sure you've heard it. And there's no way in my mind these people are not colluding with each other. And there's 100% hearsay. I don't care. This has got to be what happens. It has to be.
Yeah.
Well, let me play it.
That I am told, this is hearsay, but I am told by a reliable source that Friday evening, somebody from Washington called the district attorney in Atlanta and said, you have to indict on Monday. We have to cover up all of the mistakes we just made with Weiss. And she said, apparently, my jurors aren't coming back till Tuesday. And they said, you didn't hear me. You have to indict on Monday. And she said, well, they're not going to get here before noon. They said, it doesn't matter. She said, this means it's going to be 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They said, it doesn't matter. We need the news media shifting.
Who made that phone call?
We don't know. And I'm telling you.
All right. We don't know. And I don't need to play the rest of the clip. This was a rush job very clearly. And all of the other indictments preceded something that, was so damning to the Biden administration. I've seen people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Anna Paul Luna, others. Elise Stefanik, Slotkin, excuse me. No, I was right. Elise Stefanik has been great. She put out this graphic about it. Like, look, here we found this on this day. There was an indictment the next day. Here we found this on this day. Indictment. I mean, look, I'm a numbers guy. There was zero chance that could happen, especially somebody who's watched the federal and state justice systems. They don't operate like that, Liz. They just don't. They're not well-oiled machines. They're sloppy. They're backed up. They're extremely backed up. So there's a lot going on. And that is the only way this makes sense. And there is, without a doubt in my mind, Jack Smith is talking to the Biden administration. The Biden administration sent their own buddy down there to Alvin Bragg's office. Now you have Fannie stepping on Jack Smith's toes. Why would she even do that? And this is totally, in my mind, coordination. They are colluding. It's like you use these words that project them.
No, Rich, you know what it actually sounds like? Racketeering. I mean, it sounds like the mob. I mean, give me a break. And we know that this is happening. Okay. Yeah. Just like you mentioned, they sent the number 3 guy to Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg got in there and he said, there's no case. I mean, you can't twist the law like this. Like there's no case. There's no crime. And what do? They send the number 3 guy. Magically, it gets resurrected. Boom. Sham indictment. Same thing here. There's no way there wasn't coordination and conspiracy against rights. This is a conspiracy against President Trump's rights, against the American people's rights, to get to have a free and fair vote, to get to decide who is the president. I mean, they are acting like a mob. They are acting like a cartel. You also have the evidence in the presidential records case, that total hoax with the boxes, that they were leveraging a judgeship of one of the defendant's lawyers over his head. Said, that's a nice judgeship you got there sitting on Biden's desk. Be a shame if anything happened to it. Yep. And these are the criminals. These are the conspiracy. These are the people that are engaging in conspiracies. Okay. And that's what's so disgusting about all of it. And of course it is always timed. They want to, because a big part of this is not just to try to put him in jail and take him off the ballot and interfere in the election, but it's also to win the information war. It's to have this propaganda out there and get it away from the actual crimes. I mean, no one, if you ask someone on the street and ask them, what crime did President Trump commit? Would they be able to answer? Would they? No, because he hasn't committed any. But you can understand, anyone on the street can understand getting $10 million from Ukraine and then changing policy because of that money, getting the exact sum amount of a sports car from Kazakhstan the same day. I mean, that's what the Bidens are doing. It's all bribery. It's all out in the open. Everyone knows it. The FBI has known it. The DOJ has known it. And they've been covering it up because they're useful to them. I mean, they're just corrupt, run-of-the-mill political hacks that they're just in there doing what they're told. And that's a sad reality. We have such a corrupt system. And of course, they're so terrified of President Trump because why? He represents, as you cover so well with all the polls, the biggest movement, the biggest political movement in our history. I mean, it's incredible. That's what they're afraid of.
I don't need to play the clip. I'll just mention it. But and it really does bring another question into play, though. So Dershowitz, put forward this theory, and I think he's right. I think you're right. It's multi-pronged. If they could, hurt him legally. I mean, if they can hurt him financially, but it's also political, and it's also about information, because if some of that doesn't succeed or it doesn't get through the court system in time, then maybe at least it'll damage him politically and it'll hurt him in a general election. I mean, it's just so many things they're trying to accomplish at once. And Dershowitz said all these cases are junk and they will be tossed at the Supreme Court. And Democrats know that. Like Jack Smith has to know that. Fannie Willis has to know, but they don't care, Liz, because by that time it's like yesterday's news. And I agree with that. But this really begs the question, where the hell is the Republican Party? I was talking about this with Mike Davis. If they had a 3-seat majority, forget 9, if they had a 3-seat majority, Democrats would have brought this government to a grinding halt. Nothing would be funded. And by the way, forget about Georgia Republicans. I can't even get into that right now. But they would, the Republicans in the House have the power to end this. And so, by the way, does the Georgia legislature. They could change how this is done. But even still, this is BS how people talk about Texas and Georgia, and the governor has immense power. He picks up the phone, and he makes it.
And Brian Kemp, you better believe, has a lot of power. I mean, give me a break.
That's how the real world works. You will do this. By the time I hang up the phone, I want it in motion. That's how the real world works. It's got to frustrate the president that, I mean, what are we doing? They're on break. Are we going to violate their sacred Sabbath or something? Like they can't come back and do their damn job. Everyone knew the indictment from Fannie was coming. Everybody knew the indictments from Jack Smith were coming. They haven't done diddly. Are they finding corruption for Biden? Sure, but they would have protected because Donald Trump is like their Barack Obama. Could you imagine how they would react if Republicans went after Barack Obama like this? They would kill everything, Liz. Scorched earth. It's got to frustrate the president, does it not?
Well, and he's laid this out in recent speeches to say that, I mean, what are you doing? The time for talk is over. And we're going to primary you if you don't do something. Because, again, this isn't about President Trump. No. Are we going to have a country left? Are we going to have any semblance of a legal system that... I mean, they're not even pretending. And this is just truly shocking. And yet, what are they doing? They've done absolutely hardly anything. They've gotten a little oversight out there, but what are they doing with that? They impeached President Trump over what Joe Biden did, for bringing up the truth on a perfect phone call, which they lied about, by the way. And thankfully, there was a transcript of the phone call because they Adam Schiff made it up. I mean, that's how they operate. We don't have to make anything up. We don't have to make up a fraudulent dossier. We don't have to pretend that something is Russian disinformation when it's not, when it's so real. We have the truth and the facts. Where is the accountability? And it's getting worse. Because there has been no accountability.
That's right.
I mean, why are they able to raid illegally and unconstitutionally President Trump's home? Because there's been no accountability. They've been able to smear him. They've been able to spy on him. Of course, they've never found anything. Now we're learning they broke into his Twitter DMs. What the heck do they think they're even going to find? I mean, now they're going to try to indict him off tweets he never sent. I mean, it used to be people he never fired, right? During Russiagate, he was maybe going to fire somebody and he didn't end up doing it. And they were, this could be obstruction. Now they're going to probably try to throw him in jail for, he never sent this tweet. I mean, this is insanity. And the Republicans need to wake up as to what is going on because, it's all going to come crashing down on them too. They're not going to be safe.
They're so stupid. So stupid.
I know you've probably seen this meme of, they're at the pawn shop and it's Kevin McCarthy. He's like, the best I can do is a strong tweet. That's the best we can do. And that's how we feel. I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, it's just crazy. And it's like, we have to get tough. And that's what President Trump always says. They better get tough. They better get smart. We're losing the country.
If they don't, they're going to get steamrolled too. And by the way, the next will be the influencers. The next will be I have long said, if this is the direction, they'll start prosecuting pollsters like me for putting out results they don't like. This is going to happen, folks.
They'll say that's an election lie. That's interference. You're trying
to. Yeah.
No, I mean, if you take this at face value, we're all co-conspirators. I mean, anyone who said, watch this hearing, look at this clip, engaging in the democratic process, they're saying that's a crime.
We're part of the RICO.
Yep.
Yeah. There are two things I got to ask, two events I want to ask you about. And, I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to get to this dump when Ron DeSantis yesterday in the New York Times, which totally vindicated me. Of course, his donors have been telling me for weeks, that the pitch is don't leave us because he'll be arrested, he'll be indicted, this is going to hurt him. Then it didn't. And now it's morphed into don't leave us because he'll be removed from the ballot. And so we're going to publicly defend him against these indictments while privately cheering them on and hoping he goes to jail. I just don't know what kind of a man could live with themselves and do that. By the way, you're not safe either, Ron, because they got something on you with the Martha Vineyard and the migrant stuff. So you're next, buddy, if you're ever a problem. But Monday, there was a report with this press conference that the president wants to hold this Monday, 11 a.m. about a report about election fraud that happened in Georgia. And the report said that he was advised not to do it. First, I just want to show you something and ask you really simple. I don't know how well you can see it. Is that not the same ballot, Liz? Is that not the same ballot? I remember this, and Kyle Becker was like, hey, you remember this segment on Tucker? Because we did a speech together before Mike Pence, right before Mike Pence took the stage and promised to do something on January 6th, and then he lied about it. It was a couple days right before he dropped the letter betraying everybody, but we were 10 feet away. Kyle Becker and I were doing a speech on what happened in 2020. And there's also this Matt Brainerd published yesterday, and he's like, look, I'll put forward the license. These are he didn't put the names out. He didn't dox anybody, but here are the addresses of people who were to change. They filled out change of address flags. And I had been constantly telling people that was the low hanging fruit. Of course, there could be a lot more, but that's low hanging fruit. It doesn't matter what you show the media, they're never going to cover it, but you have to fight in the court of public opinion. He was told not to do this. Is he still going to do it? Or was he even told? Is that even real? And then is he going to do it?
Well, I think he's decided to just use it in the court filings. But okay. I can tell you, look, this is the great irony of bringing the case in all places of Fulton County, because Fulton County, Georgia, literally is where we have the most evidence of how corrupt that election was. It is the most corrupt election in 2020, bar none, by what the evidence we have, because there's so many patriots on the ground who've been, filing public records requests and have been studying it and have been looking into it and have been demanding answers for 2.5 years now. And they've uncovered a heck of a lot. And there's no doubt that this election in Georgia was corrupt and was stolen. There's no doubt. And there is hard evidence, and they can malign and smear and pretend it didn't happen all they want. There's the fake news, but it is the truth, and the truth will ultimately get out there. And so it's hilarious to me that of all the places they're saying that President Trump, interfered in the lawful administration of election. Well, you just referenced those duplicate ballots. And there's so many examples of that. They counted 3 different times. They got 3 different results. And every single time the margin got smaller and smaller. And each of those counts are really not even connected to the others. It's incredible, Rich. Like there is so much evidence that this was a manufactured result. Why? Because they didn't like the result they were getting on election night. And it's just incredible.
You have Brad Raffensperger's right-hand man on Facebook. And I remember when he posted it, because I had people send it to me. Like, are you worried about Georgia? We weren't even polling Georgia. Like, do you think Georgia is a battleground state? And I'm like, well, it's not on our radar. And, somebody had sent it to me saying it would be basically an honor if we could figure out how to stop Donald Trump in Georgia. Like, he can't win the Electoral College. So if we can figure out how to deliver it to Joe Biden, what an honor that would be. And I'm like, think this is a man who is Brad Raffensperger's right-hand man. And by the way, according to Brainerd's research, his own ballot was erroneously requested. So it's just unbelievable. You can't make this stuff up. But yeah, I guess the last thing I want to ask about the debate, because I know people say in the polls, and we've asked people, I want him to debate. I want the president to debate. But if you look at it, because it's mostly people who are Trump supporters who they just want to see him get up there and smash.
I mean, who doesn't want to see it? Yeah, he's so good at it.
Only about 10% or 5% are like those, whatever you want to call it, somebody else's supporter who is hoping that their candidate has a breakout moment. So they say, yeah, I want him to debate. That's why they say it. But most of the people who say yes, that's not who it is. It's, I want him to go up there and call Christie a Slav. I want him to go up there and just do what he's going to do to Ron DeSantis. I don't know. I mean, no political consultant worth their weight would tell a guy who's got a 40, 50-point lead, or in Iowa, at least 20, depending on the poll you're looking at. Nobody would tell that guy to debate. Nobody would tell that candidate to debate. Right. But people want to see it. So I mean, are you guys going to do something different? What's the plan? I know you probably can't break news here, but what's the plan? I don't want to give Murdoch investment money.
He put out a great statement last night about the whole situation. He says, the American people want somebody intelligent back in the White House. So that really is kind of his main reasoning, because here's the problem. Like, of course, everyone wants to see him do it because nobody's better. I mean, people have been posting in recent days, circulating some of the great lines he's had from these debates against Hillary and against the Republicans in 2015 and 2016. I mean, they're just gold. They're gold. Of course, everyone wants that. But you have to think about, what are they trying to do here? They're setting up this narrative as if there's a competitive primary. There's not. And it would really elevate these other people and elevate just the even idea that there's something competitive going on here. No, like he said last night, like, I'm your man. Who's saying that? The people are saying that. They want President
Murdoch too is going to make money. I mean, that's another, the Murdochs.
I know. Of course, they're begging him to do it, and they want him to do it because the ratings are crap because the American people are onto it, And so I think that's the main thing. I can't say what he's going to do. If he's going to do something different, you got to stay tuned. But I mean, I think people are not going to hold it against him because, it doesn't make logical sense. These guys, no offense, are a bunch of losers, and nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. The voters want President Trump. They know what time it is. They want their best fighter. And think of all the hundreds of millions of dollars they're wasting. And by the way, that memo that they leaked, I guess they have to leak it to the media because they can't coordinate.
Can I ask you about that? Come on, come on. I mean, this was bad. Did they even want him to win anymore? Like, what's the point? Just break. I
know. How is that going to help? And it honestly, it explains so much why he's an awful candidate and why he's going down in the polls more and more and more. The people know when you're a phony. They can just see it. And when all your answers are canned, and when you have to be told, hey, say an anecdote about Casey and the kids. I mean, sorry, we are not back in 2015. We're not back in 2012 or 2008. This is a new world. Why? Because President Trump is real. He exposed it all. He showed the American people, actually, we do have better options. We don't have to settle for these lame career politicians who are poll tested, who believe in nothing, and who are just there to sell out our country and for a job. And that's what you'll have on stage next Wednesday. You'll have a bunch of the same types of people that we were so sick and tired of, but we felt we didn't have any better options. President Trump showed the American people, this is how our system's supposed to be. It's supposed to be outsiders. It's supposed to be real people who are doing something, who are actually serving their country, not these people that are just want to get in the system and stay there and milk it off the taxpayers and run this country into the ground, which is what has been happening for decades.
Looking at the comments, there really are two. One really is for somebody from the legal team, folks. So I'm going to go over that. But the biggest thing people are asking is really just how he's doing. This is an enormous amount of pressure. He gets out, he goes to a campaign event, and he just looks fine. And I personally know what it's like to have the weight of the state try to come down on you. So it's like, it's not easy. It sucks. No. It's horrible.
I mean, no one else could do what he's doing. No one else could put up with this. I mean, because really it's nothing new. It's just accelerated because they're getting so much more desperate. But I mean, ever since he came down the escalator, I mean, he has basically been under this, just assault, and his whole family. No one could withstand it. But what the amazing thing is, I mean, he's better than ever. I mean, every time I speak to him, he is lighter than air. He's in a great mood. He's just a fighter. I mean, obviously he hates what they're doing to the country. Yeah. Nobody likes to be falsely accused, let alone how many times he has. And they're literally trying to put him in jail for 1,000 years. I mean, this is insanity. But I think the most troubling thing is just, how is this happening in America? That's what he thinks. But he's doing better than ever. He really is. And he's he's got to fight. I mean, he's got to do it because the country needs him. And I think he knows that. So he really is doing great, but nobody else could put up with this. And that's why, that's why he says, I'm standing in the way. And that's why all the people are rallying behind him too, because they just appreciate. I mean, you saw him at the Iowa State Fair. I mean, it's just no one else gets that reception. Why does he get that reception? Because they understand, they know what he's given up. They know he cares about them. They know he cares about the country, and he's doing whatever he can to help it. So that's what it's really about. And he loves being around the people too. And I think that gives him more energy as well.
Yeah, when you get heckled and then when the plane comes overhead, people leave your event in the middle of you speaking, it's time to hang it up. I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
I've never seen anything like it either. It's so embarrassing.
I don't know. I would not be able to look at my wife at the end of the day. I just wouldn't. Liz, thanks for coming on as always. I really appreciate it. Come back and see us. Open invitation as always. And tell the president to come by and see us. People would love it. All right.
Okay, we will.
All right. All the best. Liz Harrington,
bye.
everybody. Liz Harrington. Look, folks, I mean, he is always in such good spirits. I'm telling you, have you ever seen anybody deal with adversity like this? You remember when the Billy Bush tape came out, and this was like a big thing in a presidential race for people to follow this stuff, and everybody wanted him to get out. There were people who were saying, Mike Pence is going to have to head up this ticket. He goes out there and just annihilates Hillary in this debate. It's rare for any human being to deal with adversity the way you see Donald Trump deal with adversity. It's astonishing. It is. It really is. But I did see a lot of, like, for instance, proactive motions again from. I will try to get someone from the legal team on, and we'll ask them that. Liz Harrington's obviously part of the campaign. I don't think that would have been something she could answer. With that in mind, wow, it's already 1:00. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, there's a lot of questions building up, and I'm not quite done doing what I was doing yet. I was gonna play too. You know what? Maybe we'll forgo that for the questions because Laura will be very upset with me. Right, Laura? Is that the way you want to go here? Yes, as always. All right. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to do something a little bit different with jamming today. All right. But for everyone else, let's take it and we'll come back in a hot minute. All right. Listen, folks, incompetence and then also threats. Of course, authorities are truly worried about threats from the grid to the grid from extremists. We have weather events. We're still in the middle of hurricane season. That's why you need a solar generator. The new Patriot Power Generator 2000X is portable but extremely powerful, and powerful enough to power your phones, medical devices for you or your loved ones, even your refrigerator. Right? Even though we have a natural gas one, we still knew we needed a solar one. You can get one right now by going to 4patriots.com using the promo code TPP10 at checkout. That's 4patriots.com. Use the promo code TPP10 at checkout. This code is, of course, for 10% off, and it's for everything. It's for your first purchase and your first purchase only. So make it count. Make it, deliver some big savings. There's a great deal right now, by the way, for the Patriot Power Generator 2000X, and you can still use the code with it. Again, TPP10, that gets you 10% off. Go to 4patriots.com right now. And Laura will put the link up. I'm not going to go to the screen today. Our friends at Jam and Bean. It's Patriot owned, a great Michigan-based company. These guys are artists in the industry of coffee roasting. I always tell you about this medium body that's right here, the full body medium roast. All right, love it. If you're I like both. I don't have the time, however, to sit there and grind beans freshly roasted, and it's like one of the best things in the world when you get someone who knows what they're doing. When you open up for the first time that bag of freshly roasted coffee beans, and it's like somebody, not Starbucks, shriveled up little prunes, all right, covered up with flavor, somebody who's an artist and really knows what they're doing, which they are, Jam and Bean. It's one of the best things in the world, and I wish I could do it all the time, but I can't. So I have to get K-cups too, and I'm in and out. I like dark roast, but in the middle of the day or later on in the day, I need to pick me up. Then I use a medium because it's later. And amazingly, I still like full body. I could never find a medium bodied I mean, a medium full body dark roast. And there's a lot of science behind it. I'm not going to get into the weeds, but they put the R&D into it and they got it. And it's beautiful. You go and you get, like the Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts one in your grocery store. Chances are if you were to rip one of those puppies open, you're going to see this like disgusting wafer in there that's used to fill space, because all they're really doing for mediums are giving you really what's a dark roast, just less of it. God knows what you're putting in your body when you run hot boiling water through that K-cup. It's disgusting. All right. Also, they have fantastic gourmet popcorn, which you all know and love. This one is a new one called Chicago Mix. All right. The bomb. Also, I haven't tried this one yet, though. Vanilla blueberry. That's a new one. And of course, our fan favorite, caramel mocha latte. And if you're like me and you also like buffalo one, is delicious. Also, the sour cream and chives. It's all natural. It's all made them. It's yummy, Laura said. It is. I'm telling you, this is great gourmet popcorn. And Laura, I don't even like caramel popcorn. I like it, but I can't stand how it gets stuck in my teeth and it leaves a weird aftertaste. Theirs leaves the most delicious aftertaste. Everything melts and dissolves because it's natural and it's just beautiful. And it leaves this very rich but sweet, buttery-like taste in your mouth. It's incredible. I can't wait to try vanilla blueberry. I bet you that's the bomb, because I'm a blueberry. I still love blueberry morning. I never get a chance to eat it yet, but I love it. And of course, I haven't tried this yet, but freeze-dried Starburst, all with organic made stuff. I'm going to give that a shot too. Use the promo code TPP40 at checkout when you sign up for a new subscription at Jam and Bean, and that will get you 40% off right off the bat. And you'll still get 10% off every month when you are re-upped, your subscription renewed. So basically, that's what everybody gets by just going to Jam and Bean if you use the promo code when they're offering it. But because you're a watcher or listener, viewer of Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit, use the promo code TPP40. And that will give you great savings. 40% off the top, 10% on every renewal. Send us your feedback. We love to hear what you guys think about the products at Jam and Bean. They're fantastic. All right. Let's get into some of these questions, shall we? Because Laura says I take too damn long, and I know I do. I feel like I missed something with asking. I had it. Hold on, let me just look at my list of what I'm going to ask Liz. I think I got why aren't Republicans doing anything? She's totally right, because I saw that one question. It made me think about it. They're just going to go down. This is how tyranny works. They're just going to go down the list. They're going to go down the pyramid. If they can do, and this is why it's like all these people who had Trump derangement syndrome during his administration, we let him get away with Crossfire Hurricane. We let him get away with impeachment hoaxes, the Russia collusion hoax. When the populace does not truly push back, they will keep the march on. And they kept going because nobody was held accountable. Durham's report is one of the most scathing reports ever. People should go to jail. What Durham is outlining is a seditious conspiracy. That's what the FBI and the Justice Department engaged in, and no one was prosecuted. Nobody was held accountable. Andy McCabe got his payback. So when they see signs like that, well, we basically launched an administrative coup and there was no repercussions. Let's do more. Let's destroy attorney-client privilege. No repercussions. Let's go further and start indicting attorneys for giving legal advice. Interpretations of the Constitution. Let's go further. The one thing I didn't ask about was the campaign funding, given all of this. But I got to tell you, just look at some of the numbers Fox News put up the other day. He's raising money like crazy. And that's the campaign with different than separate from the PACs, which are actually paying the funds. So, I mean, I kind of, like I said, I was talking to our old friend from the show, Don Smith. I totally blame us for this. I do. Isn't the Loomer Mitchell debate tomorrow? Oh, today? Later today? Is that what you're asking me? I don't know what time it is. I'll tell you what. It happened. I thought it was today. And maybe it was tonight. I didn't see it. I'll go back and look at it, though. I'm sure Loomer crushed him. I'm sure she did. She's just a very, very, first of all, she is well informed. Second of all, she's a presence, whether you like her or not. I mean, Ben Shapiro, she's clearly a crazy person, and you're clearly a little weenie. All right? You're clearly someone who thinks they're smarter than they are, who couldn't win an election or articulate your point of view if literally your life depended on it, which it does. And stop taking money from Ron DeSantis. Locals at Pam Larson. Thank you, Pam. Question for today. How do you recommend someone interested in switching careers to polling or political data explore the industry a bit more or get their foot in the door? Seems like the industry is rife with grifters and fraudsters. It is. You got to do, I would say you really got to do your time. So, and then with me, in the case of me, I kind of learned a little from a lot. So I didn't just take one particular pollster's word for it. I didn't take, even though I did certainly have a professor who I really admired. I think I got a lot from them. But again, academia was very different back then. I can't even speak to what the University of Florida looks like now. You always had McDonald over there pretending to be an objective observer of early voting and the impact of early voting on elections, when very clearly he was a leftist. I mean, they're admitted leftists over there. I mean, just walk the halls like, I'm a commie. I'm not kidding. But the students and some of the faculty were not. I don't know what it's like now. Honestly, I had basically 2 college careers because of the military. I had that break in between. So I got to see both sides. If I had to tell you anything, I think I would tell you statistics is not enough. And you really have to learn the craft itself. That's why I would say learn it from different people. You know, you're going to have to volunteer for different groups. Laura and I have people who ask for internships a lot. I've only really ever given one. Some of my, knowledge. So it is a difficult thing to break into. It's a really good question. I would say too, you could always get connected with campaigns that you support, volunteer with them. You will interact with, if they're funded well enough, you will interact with their data people, and you can learn from them and kind of piggyback off of them, offer to help them. I'm sure they would have no problem. I always, would never object to somebody helping me, with things that I'm a pain in the butt, because I am, now that I'm public, especially, it's like, it's my name. So I don't like to delegate a whole lot of stuff. And like I said, I've only myself ever took on one kid who was super bright. He's incredibly, how could I put this? Even though we've had employees, I've only ever opened myself and some of the craft to one person who, speaking of Turning Point, I met at a Turning Point event, who walked right up to me and said, "Hey, my name is, I know who you are. Can you help me out?" And I liked him. And I saw something in him. So that's never happened. I've had 100 other people ask me, or maybe, and I'm just like, nah, sorry. I liked him. He had drive, but he was also smart. And he came across to me as somebody who had character and was just honest, was an open book, an honest person, had a lot of talent, a brilliant kid. Of course, I'm talking about Mitch, Laura. And, so it is difficult, but you could always get involved with campaigns themselves, because you're talking about politics and specifically. When I did this, I did start with politics, but I wasn't only limiting myself to that. We did a lot of branding stuff. I got with people who were doing research on branding. We did a lot of A/B testing between, different logos, different slogans, which one gives you more confidence. When you look at this or you hear this, what are your impressions? We did a lot of stuff like that. So I learned, like I said, I learned a little from a lot at first, and that's the way I did it. But in the beginning, certainly no way that you would expect to get paid unless you can find a pollster who's willing to hire you to do, like, I don't know, for instance, once our crosstabs are processed and weighted, some employees will go through and create graphics or something. They have access to go in there and they're creating those off of the data set. So they'll learn basically, because they're going to ask you questions, and I have to answer them. So they're going to learn some of it from you like that anyway. But like I said, all these years, when it comes to like survey building and design, I've never intimately worked with anybody other than one person. Ask Rich, other than Laura, Like I always told Laura why I was doing things. Even when Laura didn't really know anything or care. She just knew I was like, this is what I was doing. I would talk to her. She was always my little companion. So I filled her head with all this stuff and knowledge because I needed someone to talk to. And she was there. I'll tell you what, guys, women are, except for the, like I said, the guy I did talk to, he wasn't like normal men. Be honest, guys. If you're being honest for a second, you're all a bunch of know-it-alls, right? Like when I talked with Laura, I had a largemouth bass fish. She was the best largemouth bass fisherman or fisherwoman partner that I've ever had. Aside from now, my son, he's great too. But that's because guys think they know everything and they're very difficult to teach. And women, when they don't, they're just much more attentive students. And so
more astute.
More astute, yeah. Whereas guys are like, well, why wouldn't you do this better? Why wouldn't you do? I mean, listen, learn the basics first, then start to reinvent the wheel. And women, in my opinion, are just more able to do that. Jay, I didn't see that for Liz. That's funny. Should he just fly the jet over the debate? That's funny. And I did ask Snow, a lot of people said, hey, can you ask Liz how Trump is feeling? And we did. Let me see if I can actually find, because I see what you guys are putting out there about the debate and how he's been doing and stuff. Let me see if I could find what he put out here. Oh, here it is. All right, so this is what he had said, or this is about the other thing. We'll go through this. We'll go through this first, and then because it's going to answer your question anyway.
Here comes the history lesson to each question.
No. I'm just going to show them Trump's response, to the report thing and the fraud thing, rather than releasing the report on the rigged and stolen Georgia election. On Monday, my lawyers would prefer putting this, I believe, irrefutable and overwhelming evidence of election fraud and irregularities in formal legal filings as we fight to dismiss this disgraceful indictment by a publicity and campaign finance-seeking DA who sadly presides over a record-breaking murder and violent crime area, Atlanta. Therefore, the news conference is no longer necessary. By the way, I have heard now from multiple people, and again, hearsay, I have heard from multiple people that if you are like, how can I put this nicely? Yo, Fannie Willis is a gangster, is a gang banging banger. I've had multiple people tell me this. Like, if you want to get off, if you're like a gangbanger who's in trouble in Atlanta, there's a man in trouble. Did you not? I don't know. I'm just saying this isn't what I have heard. And I've heard it now from multiple people. It could be that just things are circulating around. I don't know, folks, but that is the word. All right. So not only is she somebody who absolutely is just trying to get fame and finance and forward her political career, there's just no doubt about that. So, I think Trump did the right thing here for Monday. I do. I don't think that he should. He's got to defend himself in the court of public opinion, and he can do that. But when it comes to the election fraud stuff, I told you this on Wednesday and on Monday. They may have opened the door here that they will wish they kept close. And you can do that through the legal proceedings too. You don't have to just go out there and expose yourself. All right. Notice something. And by the way, Jay Stevenson at Locals. Thank you, Jay. Notice something in the WPA poll, DeSantis Pac-Man. Is it normal that they did a head-to-head poll not including DeSantis? Let me get up what he's talking about. I'll show you because I did put it on Locals so everybody knows what he's talking about. Load up Locals. Put a lot up yesterday. Yesterday was a big day. I also have to show you guys one thing about news coverage. I wanted to show Liz, but I think it's interesting. Present. Okay, here it comes. So this was Iowa in what leaked. And then I personally think that New Hampshire leaked. It wasn't really a leak. It was on purpose. And what they were doing was trying to help the narrative that was so bad. I mean, the strategy stuff was so bad. This poll, particularly right here, even though it doesn't come along with any really detailed. I mean, folks, I can't believe they're getting paid tens of thousands of dollars to like plot a PowerPoint like a little joke. Like, look at how stupid this looks. Can I be honest? I mean, I know you're just trying to present it to the candidate, and maybe they do present more, but we don't deliver. Like we think people are smarter than this, you know, and for the most part, this is secondary material. But I don't know how they're plotting this turnout. Of the 40 something percent of people who said they could be new time caucus goers, Trump was winning them by an even bigger margin, 55-15, than he was leading overall in Iowa, with more than 60, I think 66 or something percent of Trump's voters saying they are not budgeable. They will not budge, where 75% of DeSantis voters said that they were not. Only 25% of DeSantis' support is solid. Everything else is pudding. Laura, pudding. Get it, Laura? Get it? All right, so here they have oh, you must have been talking about the Scott verse. Either that or I got the wrong slide up. But anyway, yeah, it's New Hampshire, isn't it? It's Jay Stevenson, New Hampshire. They did, and I believe it even showed that Scott was doing better than DeSantis one-on-one against Donald Trump. So embarrassing, extremely embarrassing. What they're trying to see is whether or not DeSantis's his favorability ratings are really starting to get hurt now. I'm just going to put you down, babe. All right. If you want to pop back in, pop back in. They want to see whether other candidates are getting stronger. And I'll be honest with you, Never Back Down is not really DeSantis's loyal pack. They have been talking to other. They would drop DeSantis in a heartbeat. They could be looking, honestly, a donor who gave them money. Here's the truth. It's possible strategically. They're simply trying to see if anyone's doing better than their candidate. And that would basically confirm whether or not the rising unfavorability ratings, which, by the way, look at that victory poll today. DeSantis is, I told you, his unfavorables are skyrocketing. That would confirm whether that's true or not, and whether their strategy is hurting them with the MAGA vote, and resulting in a weaker head-to-head ballot than some other candidates. But there's also another sinister, less but more real world. This is more likely what happened. A donor that gave to Never Back Down is not 100% Ron DeSantis, and in exchange for a $100,000 check, they promised them that they would also poll Tim Scott, because that person is considering Tim Scott. And Never Back Down, it is not even a secret anymore, has openly flirted with the concept of backing another candidate if DeSantis crashes. So they don't, it's not his campaign, folks. It's really not, so both instances, Jay, are examples of how disgusting and, politics can be. There's no loyalty in it. There's no, that's what it comes down to. There's just no loyalty in it. Not from the donors, not from the consultants, not from the PACs, not from the people. It's just, people in the game. People have loyalty. And at the push comes to shove, there is something to be said for it. In the real world, and Sean Parnell talked about this last night, that Never Back Down is signaling they're willing to move away. Absolutely, Spy. Absolutely. I'm telling you, somebody like David Giglio's featured in Laura Loomer's article about Kevin McCarthy's donors. What did that donor say in that article by Laura Loomer? That he will drop, he's giving to Never Back Down, but he will drop, one of them said for Scott, one of them said for Haley. So at some point when you're failing this badly, because Ron DeSantis is a failing candidate, he's a failed candidate, they will say, I'm only giving you money if you also poll this person, you also poll that person. Ron is the ultimate stooge. I'm sorry. And I'm saying this as somebody who had hope for his future, a bright future. People sadly took all of the things that I had said over the last year as like, he's an enemy. He's he's somebody we have to try to smear and destroy his credibility with the people. Well, that didn't work out. I gained like 40,000 followers or something on Twitter since then. It's a joke. I mean, every time people try to bring up something about me, things that I've always been open, it just backfires in their face. This is modern America, biatch. All right? Get over it. Not everyone is groomed for Yale and Harvard. All right? Some of us had to be, had to become self-made men. Not everybody got groomed by the deep state. Anyway, and most Americans identify with that. Not politicians and people who go to Yale and Harvard. Anyway, they took those as attacks, and because they wanted to push their own garbage to push a narrative. So I was just talking to Robert. I was just talking with another pollster about this yesterday. We were having a conversation. They had to come after us because we're trusted by Republican primary voters. It doesn't matter how much Fox News puts up Quinnipiac. It doesn't matter how much they push these guys. When there's a few of us, a handful of us that have gotten things right recently, more times than not. And when we publish something, there's without a doubt, Republican primary electorate is going to go, I believe them. So they decided they were going to take a different tact. And that's sad, because that's not what I was doing. I was hoping, that he would have a brighter future than this. I don't like to see people destroyed and played by the people around them. It's sad. Some people will never recover from this. I don't celebrate that. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not a partisan. I'm not a surrogate. You should have been listening to what I was saying. I'm a pollster, a publicly funded pollster. Yeah. I mean, this is another thing. These constant that's Trump pays for those polls. Trump paid. I mean, I saw 3 people who are notable DeSantis supporters on Twitter calling Trafalgar. Go through the replies from the Trafalgar poll that I just put up. You think Robert Cahaley took money from Ron DeSantis from Donald Trump to put out those polls? Are you out of your minds? Are you kidding? And the name of our project is literally the Public Polling Project, publicly funded public opinion. It's not a dime from Donald Trump in there. You people really lost your minds. And it's a shame because you destroyed a perfectly promising governor's career along with it. He'll never recover. I don't know. I mean, at this point anyway. I think that, should I play him? There's a great, because I get this a lot about whether or not I think he will. And there is a great monologue. I saw it yesterday, and it speaks to what some of you guys are talking about. If you give me a second, I'll find it and I'll come back and play it in a little bit after I answer a few other questions. But there it is. Actually, I found it already. So maybe I should play it right away. Let me answer a few more other questions, and then I'll play it. Okay. Let me stop the share the other one. And one of those volumes, babe, is a little loud. I can hear myself in the other room. We have different, we try to do that on purpose so we don't, but it happens. What can be said about Meloni's government and coalition in Italy, and what could be replicated here in 2025? I think what happened there, and not so much in Spain, or as much as expected anyway, is that, I don't follow the Italian government, but I do know, I do follow European politics when I can. And that's, I think just a good old case of things got so bad that it, it's like you never think, no government or no ideology lasts forever. And I think they benefited from that. But I don't know. I'm not watching the agenda, so I can't speak to it. I really can't. But you know what? You got me curious, so I will after this. Much watched Tim Pool Culture War episode this morning with Loomer and Bill Mitchell debating Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis. I'm late catching up, so I'm not sure if someone else mentioned it. Yeah, I'll go and check it out. Of course I will. I think Loomer is, forget about what Ben Shapiro says. Loomer is a more important voice in the Republican primary than Ben Shapiro is. I really think that. Has Ben Shapiro helped or destroyed a single candidacy yet? No. No, he's not. I mean, he's not impacted the numbers. Like nothing. And I know, so what are you talking about? The Daily Wire puts out all the, yeah, but they're not winning votes. They're not influencing the debate. They're just not. My voting proposal, raise the voting age to 21, which people respond with, if you can serve at 18, you should be able to vote at 18. I agree and say if you volunteer to serve in the military, then you get to vote at 18. Otherwise, it's 21. Also, during times of the draft, the voting age would drop to 18 for anyone eligible for the draft. Your thoughts? Spinnaker, and that's on Locals. Thanks for the comment. I got to tell you, I have long thought that we need to address this inconsistency with our society setting certain ages for different things. By the way, I throw guns in there as well. Like, so for instance, Rick Scott was a great governor of Florida, but he did a couple really stupid things. After Parkland, you know, the gun violence problem had nothing to do with 18 to 21-year-olds who wield rifles. The gun violence problem is about handguns. So the ban for 18 to 21-year-olds to buy rifles, assault rifles or not, it's a semi-automatic rifle. That's all it is. That's ridiculous. We have to decide as a country what age makes you a citizen. If we are too immature to perform our duties, citizen duties, Jefferson, I'm talking about now, for every right, you have no right that does not come with an equal or greater duty. If we are too immature to perform those duties at 18, then perhaps we need to visit it. But it is ridiculous. You can vote at 18, but you can't buy a firearm. You can go off to war at 18 and brandish a firearm, but you can't come home and get a drink. This is ridiculous. And I would just say this. In some states, look at the exit polls. 18 to 25s or 18 to 24s, excuse me, can vote more Republican sometimes than 25 to 29s. Why is that? Because 25 to 29s have gotten things like graduate degrees. So you might want to be a little bit careful, but still, I think that would iron out if we did it based on kind of the principles we're talking about here. You got to decide when someone is a responsible person. You know, everyone's got personhood, but a responsible person to the point where they are able to carry out their duties as a citizen. I don't have my book here, but in my book, Our Virtuous Republic, there is a whole chapter on the birth of citizenship and what it means, and citizenship versus personhood. And I think it's a big deal. Benny Allen on Locals. I disagree with Ron Johnson for VP. What are your thoughts on giving up a vital Senate seat if he's picked and did get Trump more Wisconsin votes than him anyways? Well, I would say that you could get somebody like Tiffany or somebody to still be kind of like basey enough. He comes from that part that he comes from a swing part of Wisconsin. Tiffany, he'd make a strong Senate candidate, as long as he, of course, would maintain the MAGA path. But I'll tell you what, I've seen him on War Room. I've been in the green room. He's mild mannered. He's not a bomb thrower, but he strikes me as principled. And you would have to do it all at the same time. So you'd have to get Tom Tiffany to run for Senate, all at the same, or you'd have to, it's not going to happen. It'll be a special election now because they lost with Tim Michaels. So yeah, it's a conundrum. But Tom Tiffany could win a primary and then go on to do that. Or when you'd have to win a special election, actually. So I understand what you're saying. I do. But for me, it's like you're going to need somebody for VP that probably gives you something electorally, although the case for VPs adding votes is very weak historically, actually. But B, I think ultimately what it comes down to is you need to make the deep state just as afraid, if not more afraid, of your vice president than you. So, folks, we are a killer of kings. You think Donald Trump is safe? They want to put him in jail for 1,000 years, just like Liz said. You think he's safe if he beats it and becomes president? If your answer is, they'd never do that, then I would tell you to wake up. You don't know what time you're living in. We are no different than the Romans. Not anymore. And we haven't been for years. RFK is right about that. You know, that before the period of the assassination of his uncle, which was clearly carried out by members of the U.S. government or involved with members of the U.S. government, before that period was the era of the birth of the administrative state, the deep state, the police state. They just did that because they knew they could get away with it. And then all these years now, that was like the beginning of this totalitarian push. And there hasn't been any pushback since. In fact, every major event has led to them having more power. Department of Homeland Security, Transportation Security Administration, the Patriot Act, now even the dummied down version of it, you can clearly see in the court filings from Jack Smith in the DC circuit, means nothing. They are shitting all over the Fourth Amendment. Donald Trump was going to delete evidence. He's a flight risk. That's what's redacted. Julie Kelly's right. If you don't think, and that, maybe some of you don't know what I'm talking about. What's redacted in there is absolutely Jack Smith claiming Donald Trump will flee. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I get Benny Allen's concern. I do. I just think that Ron Johnson is a very short list of people who can be trusted and won't hurt you. Although I am warming up to Barnes' idea with Carrie Lake. I know Carrie. I've gotten to know her not as just a candidate, but as a person. She's the real deal. Believe me, I did not want to testify at her trial. I have never seen somebody, well, not never, very, very rarely have I met a politician and said, I feel this is that person. The person I'm sitting who is staring me in the face, I'm looking at, I'm speaking to right now. I very rarely can say that is who this person is. I can see it without even, it's like I got a sixth sense about it after all these years. I can see their true aura, whatever the hell it is. I don't know how to explain it. Carrie Lake is Carrie Lake. And as a person, forget as a politician, she's a fantastic woman. She is. And what they did to her is a disgusting disgrace. The worst example of voter suppression, what they did to her and the people of Maricopa County. The worst example of voter disenfranchisement since Southern Democrats tried to keep black voters from voting and winning elections. Disgusting. I am hearing that Loomer crushed Bill Mitchell. Is that true? It is. Murdered him. Of course, he's an idiot. Wayne Dupree, who I missed like crazy. I'm so glad we got on. I'm going to do a pre-tape later for his show in the DC area, Baltimore, DC area. So keep that on your calendars. It'll air Sunday. He said it before I came on. I heard him while I was waiting in the Digi Green Room before he announced me. All this guy ever did was scroll through People's Pundit Daily and then take like what he was seeing from People's Pundit Dailies, the poll we did every day, and blurt it out. And I have had Brendan Dilley, Glenn Herman, Adam Gingrich, a whole bunch of people, Wayne Dupree, a whole bunch of people who have worked with him in the past. And he promised me, because we had talked about it, and he said, I never did that. I didn't do it. Since he said that,
don't forget Ginger. Ginger has the receipts.
Oh, and Ginger, oh my God. And Rebecca, oh my God, Rebecca. She's not even around anymore. That's a private, confidential conversation. I'm not going to blurt that out. But anyway, since he told me that, and I said, we're cool, Bill. I think it's people trying to make trouble. We're cool. It just kept coming. So, he's not a particular, all you have to do is listen to him. I did not think he was going to be able to go against Loomer. And I'm going to go watch it. I bet you she bodied him. I love that voting proposal, though. Or at least I love the idea of what he's saying. Question: if there is a tipping point at which Trump gassed so much popular support that there's nothing the deep state or both establishments can do to stop him from getting elected, there is. There will be a point where they just beat on him so much. One of two things are going to happen. Eventually, Republicans will cave, they'll cower, and they'll give in. And I don't think that's going to happen. And then there's the other, when Americans just say enough is enough. It's happened to a slew of criminals in the past who are really bad people, not just people who are being persecuted. And it's happened, to politicians. It has. Bill Clinton, by the way, he wasn't liked until they just overdid it. That's a good question. We did that already. The China Convergence by N.S. Lyons. I think we as a society are screwed. Let me check that out. Read The China Convergence. If that's a good book tip, then I'll do so. Oh, I got to play Stingy. That's right. Let me look that up. The China Convergence. It's not on Amazon. Is it a paper? It's on JSTOR. Oh, no, that's there by N.S. Lyons, The Upheaval. I see. Oh, on Substack. Okay, I'll check it out. Absolutely will. It's on Substack, folks. If you're interested, the Substack is called The Upheaval. That's cool. Absolutely. I'll give it a glance. More on Ron DeSantis, which I see the other question. I'd like to play this before we get more into that. There are other questions before, but let me go ahead and just play that. All right. Where's my brick house? Come on, my brick house. Brick house. Even though they're taking a break, I still love them. Right, Laura? Even though they're taking a break, we still love brick house over here. All right, let's rock this. Stingy. Grant Stinchfield. And the reason why I say Stingy, I had a captain in the Army. His name was Mike Stinchfield. Great guy. Teased a lot because he was Mormon. Not like badly. Just they teased him because he was. Never to his face. Behind his back. Strong guy. Tough guy. Came from the 10th Mountain Division, was his original unit before training 18 X-Ray, which is the Special Forces pipeline, which is where I obviously met him. And I loved this guy because I felt like he was definitely the guy we needed to have the tools. Came from the 10th Mountain, for those who don't know, before this guy even ever went to Bragg or to Benning. He was freezing his butt off in New York State, upstate New York. The 10th Mountain Division is a cold place to be. So even in North Carolina and in Georgia, it can get really, really cold. And it didn't matter what temperature it was. 5 a.m., PT, formation, shorts, short sleeve, shorts. This guy would have us doing 5 mile plus in short sleeves and short shirts in 35-degree weather. I don't even, because you're going to run and you're going to sweat anyway. Just if you're cold, run faster. If you're cold, push harder. If you're cold, dig deep. I loved him. Loved him. And his last name was Stinchfield as well. So every time I see Grant, I think about good old Mike Stinchfield. Thanks, Mike. If you ever hear this, you made me tougher, dude. You're a tough SOB. Love you for it. Let's roll, Stinchy.
It is possible for Ron DeSantis to save his political career. It is not possible for him to save his presidential campaign, a campaign that has fallen flat on its face. He's losing ground in the polls. His money is disappearing, along with any support that he once had. To put it bluntly, Governor Ron DeSantis is a flop, a major one, and a total disappointment. Remember, he got heckled in Iowa.
They're hanging in there with us. Thank you so much.
They're cheering for President Trump when he comes on stage. I would be too. And if that's not bad enough, now the snoozing slob Chris Christie is beating DeSantis in New Hampshire in a recent poll. So if Ron DeSantis wants to rescue himself from becoming the next disgraced Mike Pence style politician, he needs to give it up, exit the race, and do it now. But here is how you do it, Governor DeSantis. You call a news conference and you denounce the radical left. You call out the weaponization of our judicial system against President Trump, and you declare in light of the never-ending unconstitutional assault on President Trump with indictment after indictment of our former president, you decided that the only way this stops in the future is for President Trump to win. Trump must take back the White House to prove to future Democrats that waging this bogus prosecutorial war, that this deceitful behavior will not be tolerated by the American people. And for that reason, you, Governor DeSantis, are throwing your full support behind President Trump for the good of the nation. You do that, you will be a hero. Your reputation will be instantly restored. You will go from whiny to winner in one short news conference. If you don't take my advice, you may never win another election again.
Bow. I got to tell you, I think that Greg Stinchfield just gave Ron DeSantis the only path to redemption. If he challenges Donald Trump for one vote and loses, he's finished forever. If he challenges Donald Trump for one vote, one caucus vote, whatever it may be, one primary vote, even if he was to win Iowa, which is obviously unlikely, even if he were to, he's still going to have 35 to 40% of the party eventually hate his guts. There is no way forward other than what Stinchfield just said. And I'll be honest with you. You better take that advice, Ron, because if you don't, you're done. And I know maybe you don't want to run for Senate. Maybe you don't want to do anything else. I don't know. But the fact is, here's the deal. He's wealthy now because he did this. The Murdochs ensured that he was wealthy. He was not wealthy until he decided to do this. Fine. You got your money. You got paid. But I have had donors and voters tell me the same thing. And I really do think that is the only way that Ron DeSantis is going to make it. If I told you who the donor was, that when I tweeted that, you would blow your mind. I had another donor call me and say, "Are you talking about me?" I said the same thing. I said, "You're like the fifth text who said that. It's actually not you." And when I told them, because they know who that donor is, they couldn't believe it. I mean, they did believe it. I mean, they're like, wow. Because that particular person is part of a kind of a team in the world. And it's a big deal. So I really think that is his only way out. If he look at Ted Cruz, man, look at Ted Cruz. This is not even on par with this. Ted Cruz never recovered. Marco Rubio never recovered. Marco Rubio will never be president again. However, because he did throw his full-throated support behind Trump, and he was, reelected with Donald Trump, and then again with in 2022, he's going to survive. Of course, he's been a different person, but this is different. This man's life is in jeopardy. This man's freedom is in jeopardy, and the voters feel that this country is it worse than Hillary Clinton. Nobody's ever seen anything like this happen. There are people who are getting wrapped. It's not just him anymore. It's his lawyers. It's his supporters. It's people. It's 80-year-old women who said, "I'll be an alternate elector." Why on earth would they ever have thought they were in danger of prosecution from that before? Democrats have appointed alternate electors many, many times. Has Rich ever thought about tutoring in general political strategy and acumen? Rich is a pollster at heart, but he is about the best at seeing the next moves. Thank you, Garrett. And I mean, ultimately, people ask me to do consulting. I rarely do it. I have done it, but I rarely do it because then I feel like I can't talk to you about it. I would have to kind of like disappear as the People's Pundit if it was like a very high profile case in most instances. But yeah, I have thought about doing it for a group of up-and-coming people. I have this wild, crazy idea, and I think that Charlie Kirk is probably the best fit for this because he's got such a big organization where you can offer younger, aspiring people who are true believers, kind of like something like that. I've never pitched it yet, but I've thought about it for a while. You're the first people to hear it publicly. I've talked about it with other people privately, haven't brought it to Charlie, but I feel like Charlie's organization is the right organization because it's most in touch with the electorate. And very clearly from 2022, you can see that. Given Vivek's, and this is Spy on YouTube, given Vivek's recent surge, is he peeling away some of Trump voters? Should this be a concern? He's not peeling away that much of Trump's voters. Largely, they're coming from people, that are kind of looking for something else, as other people have fallen. Like maybe Tim Scott's all right. No, he's not. And he's peeling from Ron DeSantis. He's taking DeSantis voters. He's taking MAGA voters that now don't think DeSantis is MAGA. That's who he's taking. And they would be Trump votes, yes. But look, like I said, Vivek is not going to win. All right. Not unless, something crazy had happened. It's not. Lumer on Timcast today said the president and vice president cannot be from the same state. Is this true? I thought Robert Barnes said it was only at the time of the electors meeting, the example being Cheney. That Barnes is right. And I'm sure Lumer means right, but there's an easy, very, very easy workaround. Because I imagine you're talking about Byron, right? Hot Cake. Thanks, Hot Cake. When a politician speaks on TV, how can you tell? He appeals to the people or he appeals to the elite. Who are they wooing for support? Wow, Hot Cake, you just gave me an idea. That's a show. Sometimes you can't tell until you know enough about the field, right? So what do they really? First of all, if you ever wonder where they are on a position, you could always go digging through their finances. All right. There may be a specific issue that politician is talking about. And it's like, oh, okay, Paul Ryan is making this case, for instance, that him and Donald Trump are just not ideologically the same. I'm a Jack Kemp Reagan Republican. He's something different. It's an incoherent ideology. That was a load of crap. Paul Ryan's benefactors spent tens of millions of dollars, more than that, collectively, billions in this country and others to try to get TPP through. One of Paul Ryan's biggest problems with Donald Trump was, in fact, free trade. And he wants to go back to that kind of way of doing things. Also, the Chamber of Commerce kind of like position touches on other things like immigration. So Paul Ryan never had an ideological problem with Donald Trump. He had a benefactor problem with Donald Trump. And he's full of crap. So sometimes you can tell like that. And we did a report on that, by the way, in People's Planet Daily a while ago. Is this about ideology or is this really about something else? Let me see. Locals. Need a populist, Kennedy, Tucker, Tulsi, Lake, etc. Though I'm not crazy about it. Vivek, also not crazy about it. I guess you meant Lake. You weren't clear. Love them both. And the last name for Vivek is a ticket killer. Laugh out loud. And Lake doesn't add any votes. And I really think she's viewed as an MTG by the country. There is a bit of she's smooth, though. She's smooth. And she's pretty, be honest. So she's good at what she does. I don't think she's going to be any less liked than Donald Trump nationally. And she's the second most popular Republican in Arizona. Let's face it. She so-called lost to Katie Hobbs, which we all know she didn't. And we wouldn't be talking about her like that if she actually was in the governor's office right now. By the way, Katie Hobbs is talking about prosecuting Donald Trump in Arizona. She said it the other day. I don't know why Arizona's not prosecuting. The way the Georgia case is, I guess we could prosecute him here for the same damn thing, basically, only with Arizona. Speaking of the controlled opposition, GOP, are we on track to remove all the Republicans that voted for Trump impeachment yet? There are two left, Dan Newman and David Valadao. I'm not sure. Is Kentucky only pollster? I don't know what that means. Timothy. Let's see. Q&A. Rich, at this point, after the Muskegon, Michigan breaking story at which Nessel and Whitmer have confirmed it happened, how can a normie think 2020 or 2022 was legit? It depends on that normie. Most normies don't. They don't. Like, we polled Georgia in 21. Even, registered voter sample that was active. I mean, 35% of Democrats said they didn't think Joe Biden won Georgia. They think that officials counted mismatched signatures or did other things, right? So I think that you have Democrats that are so unified, and you don't have a huge majority with independents. That's what it would take. And then you have some Republicans, like 20%, 15% of Republicans say that they're not sure or no. So you have to consolidate. It's not the normies that aren't the problem yet. Not really. It's some of the more politicos who are, they think they're smart, but they're not. Like, I could put what I just put in front of Liz Harrington, the ballot. Like, is this not the same ballot? I could put that right in front of their face, and they'd be like, I never saw that before. Well, stop watching CNN. Question for Rich. How much street cred is Trump getting from all the BS from the DOJ? A lot. A lot of street cred. You know what? This is going to take me a minute here. What is it, 151? A lot of street cred. I want to see if I can find this. No, if I look just through some Seth and I's conversations, I could probably find it quicker. Maybe that's the way I should do it. But give me a second. Let me see. God, I've been tweeting a lot lately. I want to show you something. God, I just went through the Martin Luther King thing. That means I'm pretty far away. But I'm afraid I've already scrolled so much. I don't want to miss it. I don't want. That stupid AI mugshot of Donald Trump is so dumb. Michael Steele doesn't. He's so stupid. He doesn't even realize. Here, I found it. He doesn't even realize that makes it worse, Michael. It just shows that you're a fraud. It just shows that you're a fraud, and you've always been a fraud. And this is why Republicans don't like you and don't trust you, because Rush Limbaugh was 100% right about that. And I got to get a clip from Rush, an archive clip to play every time somebody does something like this, because Rush was right about the reason that they really hate Donald Trump, the Republican Party. It's because they're frauds. And when someone like Donald Trump comes around, the grift is over. The scam is over, and they can't stand it. They want to go back to the way things were, where they could scam you for your vote and then just do whatever the hell they want when they get there and make some excuse about why they couldn't fulfill their promise. Right? Street cred when it comes to Donald Trump, huge. Watch this video. Oh, I have to do this first. Where is it? I thought I had one of these. I do. Warning. Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised, and there is profanity in the video. Okay. But I think it's big. It's not just anecdotal, folks. It's big. It's 1:53. I still got time.
Do you think that Joe Biden should run for re-election in 2024?
No. Hell no. Absolutely not. No. Man, where the stimulus checks at?
No, man. He old as fuck. He don't need to run for that shit no more. He ain't doing shit different. He ain't make no difference.
Joe Biden doing nothing.
No.
Shit,
Trump,
you know what's going.
When my great-grandparents was a certain age, they're supposed to retire. Biden at a retired age. He need to go ahead and retire. He don't need to run. Biden like he about to fall over sometimes, so you need to go ahead and chill with your wife and, drink some good cognac, maybe smoke a little. You know what I'm talking about? You done got one term,
If Joe Biden was here right now, what would you tell him?
Suck my dick.
I'm going to be real with you. He's trash because he's not doing it for us. That's it. He's all done.
He's slow. He has dementia. He can barely speak. Not to mention he works for the New World Order and the globalists. Absolutely disgusting.
You got to do better.
Biden has to do better?
Yeah, you got to do better because, goddamn, the dude that's locked up now?
Yeah, Uncle T?
Donald helped out.
Donald helped out?
Yeah, Donald gave us money when we were struggling.
Yeah.
Like $2,800.
Really?
Nobody do shit. So I say, hey, man, free Donald Trump all day, every day. Free Donald Trump.
Why?
Don't have everything right, yo.
He a businessman.
He a businessman.
When you got a businessman in office, you good to go. You feel me?
Right. Donald Trump, when he seen us, when we needed money, when we needed this, when we needed that,
He showed us love.
he showed us love. And he didn't stop.
Trump or Biden?
Trump.
Trump? Why?
I don't know. He just looked out for the people more.
Trump's the average American.
Yeah.
Trump was doing a lot more than he doing.
Trump, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't no Republican, but you all right with me. Trump, my motherfucking dog. He's a realist. Like, he's an asshole. He tell you he's an asshole. You feel what I'm saying?
He was disrupting like the corruption, everything going on.
Yeah, he's a billionaire tycoon. You know what I mean? So he ain't really finna give a damn about politics. He never censor his mouth.
Yeah, he says what he wants,
Yeah. Trump move like a little gangster, baby.
You guys would say Trump 2024.
2024 Trump.
Trump. 2024.
And we from Baltimore.
We from Baltimore.
I like Trump.
Trump or Biden?
I'm saying Kanye.
I'm saying Kanye. At least you got one in there that said Kanye. I mean, look, folks, actually, we hear this a lot in polling, and a lot of these kinds of responses, we don't even get in the poll. That's the truth. They don't really want to take the poll. They'll just say this to the interviewer, or if they're texted, they'll just like text something back like this. We see and hear this all the time. And so after that happened, I had brought up, like, this is a big deal, and it's not, fake. And you hear the unskew the polls people talk, whoa, Trump got killed by this group and this. Okay. He was actually doing better in 20. This isn't new. A lot of this stuff isn't new. Black men, when they doubled their support for Donald Trump, he won almost 20% of black men. Women who are more black women, they're usually like 7 or 8% of the 12% that black voters make up in the electorate nationally. And men doubled and women more than doubled. They were only 4% for Donald Trump in 2016. They were 9% in 2020. How high can it go? So when you ask me like street cred, it's not just African-American voters, not just black voters. Did you see the white kid there? Young white kid, Hispanics. These are like regular people and, normie people. And I'm telling you, this is his secret weapon. It's a secret weapon. If he ever got them to vote in a primary, then we're all going to be wrong. And he's going to run away with it in some of these states. I mean, we're going to be way wrong. And then, in like a Georgia or something like that would be incredible. I mean, we would think it's like, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had Trump plus 11 or something. They would be way off. It would be Trump plus 18 or 20. It'd be crazy. So the street cred is real. It's real. Will the interview air during the debate or after? I guess you mean with what Trump is doing. I don't know. She said, stay tuned. Trump will skip the debate and do interview with Tucker. Clap, clap. Was that announced after I got done with Liz? Yeah. Is it really? Is that? I'll have to look at the comments and see, or look at his thing and see. Does Rich think that DW will start fading? I know he mentioned how they're not winning votes, but I also think they're becoming more culturally irrelevant, especially to younger voters. I think they mean Democratic whites. Is that what they're talking about? Wait, DW. Garrett, what do you mean by DW? We got some time. Rumble Premium, thank you. I hear there is a growing support in the black community. Do the numbers support that? Kevin's Clips and Quips. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, and I just played that, but yes. Well, yeah. Check this out. In the New York Times poll, they completely understated how much Donald Trump's black vote would be. They had him 4% nationally in their Biden plus 9 final poll. Donald Trump won at least 12% of the black vote nationally. They were totally off. Now they have Donald Trump triple the support that they had for him with black voters in 2020. That latest poll that came out, that was tied. If you look at Marist as well, this is why I wish people would stop Epic MRA. Look at the Epic MRA poll in Michigan. And then also Emerson's poll in Michigan. These races are tied in Michigan because Donald Trump is doing so much better in Detroit and the Detroit burbs than other Republicans are. And so if you look back at their other polls, maybe they had him at like 10 or 12. Now they have him at like 16 or 18. I do think that's absolutely. Daily Wire will start fading. Well, they're taking outside money, so they got money to stay there. They're bringing in money, but relevance wise, yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time. That brand of conservatism is dying. Cerno did a great thing about how the new right just came in and destroyed the goobers of the old right in 2016. He's totally right. And MAGA is younger. It's younger. And it's more. It's the future, whether they want to try to get rid of him or not. It is the future. So they're going to have to evolve because I think, look, they can go the way of so many others that have tried to merge over the years and everything. All right. I have some pre-tapes to do and stuff that I got. It's gonna be a crazy day, but later today, I am on the new. We've gone over to because of the merger that happened. So it may be a little bit slower for me to get the poll out there and start fielding because it is the first time we did it on this new platform, and I want to make sure everybody's ready to go and right with the world. But we are going to be doing it. So please share and contribute to the public polling project. We're at like 70% right now. I think something along that line, a little over 70. If we could get this funded, I would be extremely grateful because Laura and I have been putting out a lot. That's the honest answer. Because I mean, it's a partnership between us and you, so I don't mind doing it. But yep, you just go to bigdatapoll.com, scroll to the bottom, or go directly to the public polling project. The link is in the description, and share it with people you think may be like-minded, that would want to see a publicly funded project instead of, media sponsored, corporate sponsored, university sponsored, or worst upon them all, campaign sponsored. And of course, join the peoplespundit.locals.com community. Now is a great time to do so. I've been putting out a lot more. A lot of people have been contacting me and telling me that, and I intend to continue to do that. All right. So, I know I tweet a lot and then I save these things for locals, and I've been deciding I just want a lot more on locals. So we've been doing that. All right. So it's a great time to do it. Sign up, join at peoplespundit.locals.com. So everyone have a safe weekend. Remember that it is a anniversary Sunday for Laura and I, and there's no book club, but we will discuss when we're coming back. Don't forget Wayne Dupree, check that out, and I will see you guys on Monday. All the best, folks. Thanks for watching Inside the Numbers.